The San Antonio Spurs is widely deemed as a model organization in NBA history, thanks to the unselfishness of star players and the smartness of coaching staff and front office. The Spurs are able to stay competitive for an extremely long time as one of the small market teams in the league. David Robinson is the pioneer of the Spurs dynasty. The lifelong Spur was a 10-time All-NBA performer, 1-time MVP, and most importantly, a 2-time champion. With the Admirals' prime nearing the end, Greg Popovich took over and tanked deliberately in order to come by the first overall pick, in which the franchise ended up using to select Tim Duncan, who is arguably a top 5 player of all time. Entering the 2000s, the Spurs struggled multiple times as they found themselves stealing both Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili in the late second round. In the 13 years the trio spent together, they won 4 titles together and turned the team into a constant title contender. Building a successful franchise requires many things, including luck, market, stardom, and a generous owner and great coach. The Spurs used to be one of the luckiest organizations in the 2000s and early 2010s. Manu, Duncan, and Parker willingly took multiple pay cuts throughout their career, which allowed the Spurs to keep upgrading the roster. When Tim Duncan was ready to step off the throne, Kawhi Leonard blossomed into a true megastar. However, the luck eventually ran out as Leonard decided to ask for a trade and ended his tenure in San Antonio. In the first season following the Kawhi Leonard trade, the Spurs finished the season with an acceptable 48-34 record. Facing the 58-win Nuggets, the Spurs pushed them to 7 games and at some point was even seen as a favorite to win the series. During the summer, the franchise added several players to the roster, including their starting point guard, DeJounte Murray, which all should be viewed as positive signs. Now it's February. The Spurs struggle severely and are slowly dropping out of the playoff race. I couldn't help but wonder what happened to the model organization that had been dominating for over 2 decades. Have they made any mistakes on and off the court? Who should take the most blame for the Spurs' disappointing season? For a team that lacks consistent 3-point shooters, the loss of Davis Bertans was absolutely detrimental. Even though he underachieved in the playoffs, his ability to knock down shots from beyond the arc could help any team in the league. In the 2019-2020 season, Bertans attempts 8.6 threes a game and shoots over 42% from behind the 3-point line. Marcus Morris' arrival could have solved many problems the Spurs are facing considering how well-rounded he is. Defensively, he is capable of switching 3-5, which could free up DeRozan and Aldridge. Offensively, Morris is an excellent shooter, producing 1.23 points per possession in spot-up situations, and have no problems creating his own shot facing or with his back to the basket. However, Morris regretted his decision and chose to take his talents to the Big Apple after reaching a verbal agreement with San Antonio, which totally ruined the Spurs' offseason. Not only did they lose Davis Bertans for nothing, but also failed to obtain Marcus Morris, who can elevate the team on both ends of the floor. The sudden and unexpected downfall of Rudy Gay is also extremely frustrating. As the focal point of the second unit, Gay had many big games last year and was able to offer firepower when DeMar and LaMarcus were underperforming. In the 2018-2019 season, Rudy Gay shot 52.2% from the mid-range, which was the second highest percentage in the NBA out of the 42 players with more than 200 attempts. Only Kevin Durant was better. As a 3-point shooter, Gay stretched the floor well by shooting 40% from behind the arc. Rudy did a fantastic job easing the load that DeRozan and Aldridge has to carry last year, which is why he was signed to a 2-year, $32 million deal by the Spurs. But Gay failed the supporters miserably. In the 58 games he played, the rusty veteran averages a career-low 9.7 points per game while making only 30.8% of the threes he takes. On the defensive side, the 33-year-old looks lazy, often finds himself being blown by or losing sight of the opponent. It's nearly impossible to explain Gay's lackluster performance. In the summer, numerous teams were in pursuit of Rudy. Several months later, his massive contract began to burden the franchise. Now let's address the elephant in the room, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. DeMar and LaMarcus are two of the most underrated and disrespected players in the entire league. DeMar, despite his exceptional performance, was often overlooked by many due to the organization's mediocrity and lack of popularity. LaMarcus was nearly forgotten in the best power forward discussion, although he could still score 20+ points on any given night. Even though DeMar and LaMarcus are both multi-time All-Stars, they have constantly been asked to make sacrifices for role players and are rarely treated like core pieces. When DeMar DeRozan first landed in San Antonio, everyone was expecting him to shine. He still does, just in an unnoticeable way. In the 2018-2019 season, Debo averaged a career-high 6.2 assists per game, while posted a 27.9% assist rate, which is ranked 23rd in the league. With the starting point guard DeJounte Murray missing the whole season, DeMar prioritized finding the shooters in the corner and big men under the basket instead of getting his own number. However, in order to help DeJounte Murray find the rhythm, DeRozan was once again demanded to take fewer shots and spend more time standing in the corner. This season, Debo posted a usage rate of 26.6%, which is the lowest since the 2012-2013 season. Over the last two seasons DeMar spent as a Raptor, he attempted an average of 19.3 shots per game. However, the number dropped to 16.3 during Debo's Spurs career. From 2016 to 2018, DeRozan touched the ball 64 times per game. In contrast, the 30-year-old receives 5 fewer touches last year and 3 fewer touches this season. The four-time All-Star spent the first 9 years of his career as a two-guard, but over the last 2 seasons, is forced to battle significantly taller and stronger players. In the 2019-2020 season, Debo spent 76% of the time as a small forward and 24% of the time playing at the 4th spot, which is absolutely mind-blowing considering DeMar is a shooting guard. The same thing also happened to Aldridge. During the 2017 summer, LaMarcus was so furious with the way he was treated that he himself came out and asked for a trade. Aldridge, who was originally a power forward, was pushed to play 5 by Greg Popovich. Since LaMarcus Aldridge signed with the Spurs in 2015, there are 3 seasons where the star big man attempted less than 15 shots a game. How the Spurs treated their star players is simply ridiculous. DeRozan and Aldridge both like to execute from mid-range and are average defenders, which means that the duo perform the best when they are surrounded with 3-and-D players, especially wings that could play off-ball and centers that can protect the rim, since neither Debo nor LaMarcus are playing their favorable position. But no, instead they're asked to share the floor with shooters that play awful defense and DeJounte Murray, who showcases little to non-playmaking ability and struggles to make an open three-pointer. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge are likely to lead the Spurs after this season, which can greatly turn their careers around. DeMar is undoubtedly the biggest All-Star snub this year, and in my honest opinion, he should have been one. The changes Debo made in shot selection result in him having the most efficient season of his career. In the 60 games DeRozan played this year, he averaged 23.3 points, 5 rebounds and 5.7 assists while shooting 53% from the field. Out of the 29 players that averaged over 20 points per game, Debo ranked 2nd in field goal percentage, 11th in effective field goal percentage, and 9th in true shooting percentage, which is immensely impressive considering that this list includes several centers and power forwards. In January, the 4-time All-Star became one of the only 4 players in NBA history to average 25+ points while shooting over 50% from the field and 90% from the free throw line in a month. Even though his involvement within the offense drops, DeMar remains to be one of the most lethal scorers. 23.4% of DeMar's offense come from isolations, which displays how much this team needs his scoring. when the opposing team gives DeMar the opportunity to play one-on-one. He responds brilliantly by generating 1.11 points per possession in face-up situations and 1.02 points in post-ups, which put DeMar in the 90th and 81st percentile respectively. A four-time All-Star also needs to carry a significant pick and roll load. This season, Debo runs 7.2 pick and rolls a game and produced 1.04 points per possession. Three-point shooting is a problem that many people seem to have with Debo's game, but his presence within the three-point line is undeniable. As a relentless attacker, DeRozan shot an incredibly high 70.7% in the restricted area. As a mid-range assassin, DeMar, despite taking an unbelievable amount of jumpers, is still quite efficient as he shoots 45% from the area. Parting ways with the Spurs will be critical to DeMar DeRozan's career because Debo desperately needs a fresh start and a team that have full faith in him and allow him to do whatever he needs to do. LaMarcus Aldridge also made significant changes in the way he plays, which leads to the rise of production in himself and DeRozan. This season, LaMarcus finds himself being way more active behind the three-point line. Aldridge shoots nearly 39% from behind the arc while attempting 2.5 more three-pointers than he did a year ago. Since LaMarcus is no longer as effective in the post than he used to be due to the age and the declining athleticism, expanding his range will be key to prolonging his career. LaMarcus Aldridge is capable of assisting a playoff team in various ways. His post-up and face-up games are still his biggest strengths. Now he has added three-point shooting to his arsenal. The seven-time All-Star deserves to take his talent to a more competitive organization that could one day compete for a championship in the near future. So, whose shoulder do the blames fall upon? The answer is none other than the Spurs itself. Greg Popovich, who is widely considered to be one of the greatest coaches of all time, made numerous mistakes this year. Instead of spending time on the development of players like Lonnie Walker, Popovich made Bryn Forbes a full-time starter. Standing at 6'2", Forbes possesses zero ball handling ability and is one of the worst perimeter defenders I've ever seen. Bryn Forbes lacks size and speed, which caused him to struggle heavily as a pick-and-roll and off-ball defender. Anybody can blow by Forbes with ease, and when he's on the court, he often appears to be the biggest liability on the defensive side of the floor. Offensively, Bryn Forbes is a streaky shooter with terrible shot selection, but somehow are still allowed to stay on the court for 25 plus minutes and take over 10 shots a game, which is absolutely ridiculous. The front office can sign DeJounte Murray, who just came back from a potentially career-altering injury, to a 4-year, $65 million extension. Heck, they can even throw a 3-year, $48 million deal at a 38-year-old Paul Gasol. But when it comes to rewarding the star players that carry the franchise on their back and sacrifice the most, they look hesitant than ever. DeRozan and Aldridge are the only two valuable assets that Spurs have. Unfortunately, they are going to lose a duel due to their inability to build around them and pay. So people, this is today's video. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below to share your opinions with me, and subscribe to my channel. DeMar DeRozan is one of my favorite players, and I just wish that he could join a new team in the summer and stop wasting his career and time playing for the San Antonio Spurs. That's all I can say. I'm out. Peace.